watching one of the island games, but I imagine he probably wants to come over and do this one. Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine by me. Cool. Yeah, do you want to go back over and Norton will come and relieve Al? Perfect. Love you, Steph. Love you.
Yeah.
He's a nice man, though.
It's slightly, I wouldn't describe it as nice. Stage, chilly. Yesterday was
Yep, got it. Time's running!
all right, here we are. This is the first of the quarterfinals for the mixed division. We have Shenanigans versus Ireland. I'm El Shaq. I'll be here briefly while Lorcan, Irish man and Irish lover, makes his way over from his fast field. But I'm joined by one of your permanent commentators for the rest of this game, Benji Rees.
Afternoon, El. How are you doing?
I'm getting better slowly in terms of my voice. But ready for the sun to come out.
As you mentioned, this is the first of the mixed quarterfinals. We're streaming Shenanigans versus Ireland on this pitch. On the other pitch behind us, we've got Germany versus Guayota, and in the other quarterfinals in this division, Rutte facing up against Smog. Matchup of two of the top European club teams, whereas France are taking on Flo from Wrocław. And we are underway in Amsterdam. The familiar figure of John Doherty pulling. Shenanigans offensively working the disc to the far sideline to begin the possession. Shenanigans have come to Windmill a couple of times there. One of the fan favourites here, partly for those spicy kits and also for a slightly spicy style of play as well. Nice find downfield there, spacing out this Irish zone nicely and wide open at the back of the end zone. Frustrated, some sort of busting coverage and miscommunication, and Shenanigans take a 1-0 lead. Joined by a man now who is a fan of both Ireland and Shenanigans, the one and only Mr. Lorcan Murray.
Well, I learned about one while in the other, and it has been a wonderful experience seeing both of these teams perform so far in this tournament. Shenanigans, of course, tournament favourites, always known for the flashy style. Here, a little bit rudimentary, keeping it simple, just open side swings, but expertly placed, showing their experience with the game, if not with each other. Ireland in a similar position in terms of not knowing each other too well, but also a lot of newer faces, fleshed out a little bit with the likes of Keith Murnagh, Aidan Kelly, Del Cormac, veterans of the Irish national mixed teams across different beach open divisions such as that.
You've just come from watching Ireland in one of the other divisions.
I did, and you could forgive, I hope, my slightly diluted tone and enthusiasm right now, as I watched a thrilling encounter between Ireland's open side, one of the best teams at this tournament, I think a lot of people would agree, in the open division, taking on the Czech Republic's open team, and it was a screamer, going to universe, and the Czechs making it through to the semi-finals.
A little bit of an upset there.
It was an absolute upset, and now let's hope Ireland in the mixed division can get an upset for themselves as well, and manage to turn around against this very strong Shenanigans side.
So the Irish swing it around the back. The throw comes to the break side. It's a really nice take.
Wire does have those kind of grabs in his capabilities. That's part of the new faces on the Irish team you love to see.
That throw is just undercooked, and the Shenanigans defender always had the position there.
Cormac seemed to just not put enough on it. Trying to go over the open side, but getting blocked off.
So Kyle Henke picks up on the far sideline. They're trying to isolate Harris in the middle of the field. Big swing goes to the man they call the Ginger Flash.
Become a bit of a mercenary in these last few years, showing up all over the place. I believe World Club Championship was Ragnarok.
Yeah, took some time off due to injuries. Shenanigans now working pretty nicely. A little bit spicy there. Fakes the backhand into the end zone, looking around. Not really seeing much. The Irish poaching off. They love these zones and these poaches, and that's a blade over the top. A little bit of an indoor style throw there from Harris. Finds Henke for the goal, and Shenanigans break early on. They're now 2-0 up.
Ireland do love playing the zone. We saw them play it an awful lot earlier on today in their matchup against Rook, another team playing quarterfinal right now. Rook came out on top of that, as well as Ireland can become a bit unglued by particularly experienced throwers. Their zone is definitely designed to confuse the inexperienced and irritate the experienced in high weather conditions, but conditions such as these, those kinds of throws, are going to come all day. You see the quick pop, and then they find the space. As Ireland like to try to cover for each other and kind of draw opponents into traps, always trying to lure opponents into taking maybe a deep shot that looks more on than it is, or trying to push them towards a particular sideline, and they'll all of a sudden clamp down. But teams at this level of disc skills, it's just so much more difficult to pull off.
So Shenanigans, a bit of an international pickup team at tournaments like Windmill. Players have come over all the way from the States, originally based out of Nevada, but their players come from Europe. I think some place called Ireland. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No, that's a mythical land. It's actually a rumor made up by the British government.
Yeah, we're pretty terrible at that. Sorry, everyone.
Show with a huge shot all the way downfield.
Nice expansive ultimate from the Irish. That looked pretty good to me, Lorcan.
Show to Kavanagh, and Kavanagh to Merman for the final score. Merman is an affectionate nickname, I haven't called him in years. But
Merman.
Well, in moments like that, when you feel the affection, the old habits, they come out, rising to the top. But let's talk about some new habits. That was an absolutely fantastic shot from Cho, somebody who's playing on this Irish mixed team, I believe, for the first time at the senior level, and is absolutely brilliant on the defensive end particularly. She's been able to match up against some of the best players around Europe. Had a great matchup against Lola Dam. And here showing off her offensive capabilities.
So obviously you know a bit more about this Irish team than I do. In terms of club teams and geographic location, whereabouts are the core bases? Is it from all around Ireland, or have they got a specific team that comprises most of the roster?
I'd say the majority of the roster comes from either Dublin or Cork, with a couple of dapplings of people from around the country as well. The main clubs contributing players, I believe, are Gravity, Rebel have a good few players on them. So you can see the likes of Andrew McGovern out there right now. Maeve Ryan is running down to put on the force.
Yeah, Rebel took one of the qualification spots from UCR West last year and shocked many people by taking home a bronze medal from that tournament.
So now we see the American pickup with the Irish granddad, one assumes, playing on the team. That's Von Kampen.
And Von Kampen's just going to zing this blade deep. I mean, I can't blame him when you've got a target like that. And the throw's just a little bit too far, though.
John Doherty was trying to hit Natasha Hinwood, but unfortunately put it a bit too far out ahead of her. And the disc dropped to the ground.
Yeah, Don Doherty, a formidable deep receiver and defender. Quick across the ground, and he can spring up like nobody's business. Sometimes seems like he's got flubber in his feet. There was flubber in the throw there as well, was just too far. Now here's Shenanigans trying to put that in. Nice break down the far sideline. It's going to be a stoppage here. I think a travel perhaps called on the number 77 shirt of Gabe Port. Gabe Ward is a very good name.
It's a wonderful name. It sounds like he could be a wrestler. Or
a drink.
Exactly. I'd like to take a drink of him.
So not a lot really going on downfield for Shenanigans. So Port choosing to lash it deep, looking for a target. Von Kampen gets up, but receiver goes over the top. Nice little bit of hug there. Good to see good spirit. Both sides, and Shenanigans reopen the 2-point advantage there at 3-1.
Ireland did a lot of good work to really clamp down on the easier options, but we know Shenanigans have a couple of tricks up their sleeves. A couple of flim-flams that they'd like to throw out there. That was one of them, a big shot to a big man. Comfortably taken in despite the best efforts of Eric van Trampen.
So we're going to see here again on the replay, checked in by the Irish. Not a lot going on downfield, so with the still getting high, see him lean back and shoot that flick deep, and a couple of receivers in the area. Kampen goes up but can't get it, and Shenanigans get the goal, take a 3-1 lead here.
I was quite impressed with the Irish team and how they managed to respond to the 2-0 start from Shenanigans. This game, I was always afraid, has a danger of just slipping away and escaping the Irish, and they need to keep it close. They need to keep themselves relevant in this quarterfinal if they want to progress any further.
So with the shorter game rounds today, now we're in bracket play. Hooter goes at 55 minutes, and if you're not within one, there's no cap +1. If you're close, there's a +1 cap, but otherwise,
you're goosed.
You are goosed. Some begin to peek through the clouds now. Caught on the sideline. Shooting it deep, but it's going to hang a little bit. This is spicy. Back at the end zone. Oh, got a hand to it. Couldn't bring it in, though.
That's unfortunate. Henke going up against McMahon. Under the very floaty shot for the hands of Myrna. 23 versus 23.
Nice bit of spice there. Also, I want to congratulate my man on the strong hat game.
It is quite a strong hat game. He's appropriate, especially in the sun and the rain. Versatile.
As an expansive blade towards the far sideline. Tried to toe it in, but just dragged the tape with him.
I mean, you got to try anything in the quarterfinals. I mean, you don't want to leave anything off the table.
It looked to me like I thought he was already dragging it when he had made the catch, but also the sideline saw it, and they had probably a better view of it looking right down that line.
Well, I think everybody at home knows where my allegiances would lie.
I don't actually.
Oh, of course. Well, in the interest of objectivity, I think that we should always listen to the people on the sideline, as they generally have the best perspective.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought you'd say.
Of course.
But I'm saying, obviously, as a man who loves Ireland and Shenanigans, how do you choose? Are you more patriotic or are you more nonsense?
It's a very difficult thing, especially when nonsense is such an integral part of being patriotic about Irishness.
At G-Spot a couple of weeks ago, I was referred to a couple of times by organisers as the nonsense man, so I think I've now made it in life.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's something I've worked very hard for.
So we see Kelly working with Myrna on the ISO. In the end, Cormac runs across horizontal and scoops it off from the ground.
Very good hands there. Disc was sinking quite quickly, but she was able to bend down and scoop it up before it hit the turf. So Ireland keeping things tight here. 3-2 the current score.
They like that isolation look outside the end zone. Just get the front to stack to basically be cutting on their own with the two handlers. So you can see Kelly there tries to make the L cut to go back over the top. Well covered. Cormac not so much. Lovely throw from Myrna. Real leader for this team. Probably the best player on the team, I'd say.
In your infinite wisdom.
I would say in my incredibly subjective opinion.
I thought you were the authority on Irish Ultimate.
I would consider myself the only person worth listening to about Irish Ultimate. Like, say, if there was an Irish person and they were talking about Ultimate anywhere in the world, I would say...
Like on a popular podcast?
Or maybe on a stream, say, in Asia.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I would advise them to not listen to that. Listen to me instead. Listen to this. Woo! Look at that shot! Too far.
A perfect... a perfect example there of Bathos just get excited. Oh no, it looked good for a moment, but way too much Tabasco on that shot.
That's what Ireland tried to do. Normally they like to have a deep defender there. Now Ireland will definitely be looking for a deep shot of their own in response.
And you could see Doc wanted it.
I'm surprised he didn't throw it.
He will. It's another Irishman on the mark there. Sam Egan. He's going to do enough to force that throw to go too far away. Defender, receiver even bids, can't get there. Now he's picking up quickly. And then dishing it around the backfield. Springing, nice little tippy toe at the front of the end zone from Rosalind. And the break chance is wasted by the Irish, and Shenanigans take a 4-2 lead. Ireland have had a couple of break opportunities, but their D-line offense hasn't looked particularly good.
Yeah, both times they've just turned it over on throws that should have been a little bit easier to pull off. That one to the end zone from the end zone line that was just slightly too far ahead of Hinwood. And then that time the dump. You'd like to credit a bit of it to the Shenanigans defense, a lot of pressure, especially that more recent turnover. But you can't help but worry. Maybe it's the adrenaline in the Irish hands causing them to overthrow. So here we see Shenanigans collected, taking it easy. Rafi Null, the man who overthrew the huck, sending a nice perfect one to the front corner.
I will say that we've commentated quite a few games together, and a couple of Irish games as well, and this is something I've seen from quite a few of their teams. They do play relatively good defense, but their D-line offense is speculative at best.
It's a problem when passion is the main fuel for your engine, you know?
Like, it was beer.
That's racist.
No, oh, I was talking about you, not Ireland in general.
I'm passionate about beer.
Oh, we know.
Free beer, especially.
Actually, is there any volunteers around?
I really thought Kelly was winding up to absolutely send that one. Instead, just gives it to Cormac.
Yeah, the Irish having to work it underneath for now, at least. Cormac has it. Finds a nice underneath option. Doing a good job of turning, really isolating that reset. Lovely around break. They're slowly inching it away, but just matriculating the disc down the field. Kelly with a nice around break there. Good continuation down the break side, but there's no one in the end zone. Has to fake the flick, take the reset back instead. Nice low release. Oh, it sits up a little bit. That's a really nice snag. Now he looks at the end zone. Around break. Those two playing give go in the backfield, trying to communicate the switch. It's a bit late. Looking maybe for the dish into the end zone. Everything very cluttered at the front. There's not a doubt. Tries to squeeze a lefty through.
Bit too ambitious. Bit too small a window.
The offense was so good until it got to the end zone, and they just got a bit end zone happy. Everyone wanted to score, and in the end, that meant no one could because there was no space. Disc on this sideline now with Shenanigans. Swinging the disc back. Henke chases it down. Calls the timeout. A veteran move that loses all your fantasy ultimate points.
Of course, but I don't think Henke's too concerned about fantasy ultimate points right now. He's concerned about gold. And that's what this team is looking for.
Liquid gold.
Poured down his throat, choking him to death.
Steady on.
What is my subjectivity creeping in again? No, I think that's a good call given the situation. Shows how seriously Shenanigans are taking this game at least. I was honestly kind of expecting a couple more deep shots from both teams. I thought it would descend into a bit of a shootout. They both got gunslingers. They both love sending it deep. But instead, a bit more patience from the American-based team. And then Ireland trying to play around, trying to expand their repertoire. Because earlier on against Rut, almost every shot they took was a deep one, especially when they got turns. And virtually none of them worked.
It's funny what happens when you shoot it against young, athletic people.
It's very difficult to beat them.
Well, there's a reason they're the double reigning Windmill champions.
Well, I would just consider tripping them. I've called their last two finals, and I've never seen anyone just try tripping them.
Look, and I don't know if you know this, but that's a foul.
Yeah, only if you get caught.
No, it's still a foul even if you don't get caught.
I don't think that's how crime works.
I don't understand you sometimes. I really don't understand you.
No, but Rut have seemed somewhat porous at this tournament. Not the exact same Rut, although they did look very impressive in their game against Ireland earlier today.
I mean, it has to be noted that Rut are missing Ben or suffered a torn ACL very recently, so he's going to be out of action for the foreseeable future, and that is a huge loss for that side, especially with the Dutch under-24 team. Got their eyes set on Heidelberg in a couple of weeks' time. Back to the matter at hand now. Shenanigans initiating off this timeout. Roach gets the disc. He finds Harris, chops his feet on the sideline right in front of our camera. Nice little creative throw, and known mainly as a receiver, but he can throw it as well. And now they're going to ask him to get the big work. Can he toe it in on the sideline?
Aidan Kelly immediately pointing, nope, you're out of bounds.
And he doesn't necessarily disagree with that.
Very gracious.
I think his shirt's running up a bit, he needs to pull it down. You'll notice this every time you watch him, like after every point, just a little tug of the jersey to pull it down slightly, and yeah, good call. Clearly not in bounds there. Nice work from our camera crew. Also nice job to see that they cleared the sidelines so we could actually get a view of it. No one wants to be like Finney.
So we got to get a beautiful view of Ireland failing to capitalise on their advantage.
Henke swings it into the middle to Roach. Gets it is back. Those two just playing catch in the backfield.
Those are the kind of turnovers you expect to see teams like Shenanigans make a lot more of.
So good coverage from the Shenanigans defense. So on a high stall, has to put it deep. Nice positioning, great take. Defender rolls on the floor, gets himself back up. Disc now dumped backwards.
It was a desperation hook to clear their lines, but Aidan Kelly was ready for it.
And now they're going to flow it down the far sideline into the end zone. Once you get the break train rolling, it's so difficult to stop that continuation.
Well, it might not have been pretty, but they all count. There was an awful lot of oh crap, down the sideline stuff from Ireland during that point. But their receivers ready and willing to bail them out. And then good flow through as well, good support, arriving in timely fashion. Able to keep this game close, 4-3. 22 minutes and 22 seconds gone.
So just before 5 o'clock local time here. Games obviously were delayed after we had torrential downpours. Overnight it was fun until about 4 in the morning, and then just 5 hours of solid, constant
solid
rain. It really, I mean, obviously
unending.
not solid rain, liquid rain, because, you know, physics, but it felt like it was never going to end. We thought we were going to have to lose games, but in the end, the fields have drained away. We were able to squeeze them down into slightly shorter time slots so we can still get a bumper finals day of Ultimate tomorrow as well, which is obviously what we want to see. And that means as well there's still going to be plenty of time for evening festivities as well. I need to find a way to enter us into the beer race, Lorcan.
I think it's too late. I was talking to somebody. They said it was all filled up. Think we could get like special dispensation or anything?
I think we can.
Oh, there's a bit of physical contact.
Doc came in very late, and normally with that level of contact, you're going to want to at least buy him a drink first.
Well, he doesn't get him for free, unlike us, which would be nice. Doc normally hanging out deep, so he's trying to make up that distance, sprinting in. Shenanigans immediately taking advantage of it, and there's a beautiful inside-out flick all the way over to the opposite side, and well taken in. That was fantastic stuff.
So Shenanigans reopening a 2-point advantage at 5-3. After early breaks, both sides giving a little bit of back and forth.
Inside out break there. So smooth. So fluid. Beautiful stuff. That's the kind of thing Shenanigans can do. A lovely flick break to the right person and then like a nice showy huck. So can they do that consistently? Can they do 15 dump resets in a row outside your opponent's end zone? Is always a question you ask the pickup teams, and something certainly that will be asked of Shenanigans if they're able to progress further into this tournament.
So just getting confirmation of the 2 semi-finals that we're going to be streaming from the Open and Women's divisions. We're going to be doing both mixed semi-finals, but from the Open division, the semi-finals are GB Austria, and we're going to be streaming Condors versus the Czech Republic after they broke Lorcan's Heart and knocked out Ireland in the quarterfinals. And for the women's, we've got Germany versus Mermaid Lumberjacks, and we're going to be streaming Cosmic Girls versus Finland. That is a spicy matchup.
Those are some spicy matchups.
But it's going to be when you get to the knuckle end of the tournament.
Cosmic Girls, kind of like a pseudo-Russian national team. To an extent anyway, with a lot of big Russian names on it.
Both literally and figuratively. So here's this Irish offense. Taking advantage of the mark, biting too hard there. Sold him down the river. They're looking pretty calm and assured. A couple of occasions they've done well until they got to the end zone, and then they've stagnated a bit. That's a nice low pick up there. Just now in the middle of the field. A few yards out of the end zone, going with a beautiful break throw. What a dime from Kavanagh.
Straight into the waiting arms of Myrna. Fantastic stuff. The left-handed backhand break. It's always a great advantage if you're left-handed to be able to bust out that throw.
Oh, you mean cheating?
Yes, exactly. Well, it's the devil's hand, so it's not so much cheating as cursed.
All right, I can let that slide.
It's a great pickup by Anya Ahern, the captain of Ireland. And Kavanagh finishing it off. That's an absolutely fantastic dish.
It's just a dirty, dirty break.
Nothing quite like it. Now 5-4.
So the Irish keeping things close. A little bit of discussion discarded. I think there was a bit there where it was just a little bit of a bump, but they're both slapping hands. Everything very good natured in this game, which is great to see. Shenanigans fielding the pull. Working it in the backfield. Hegan has it on the sideline. Swinging it around the back. Not really getting a lot of separation downfield. This Irish defense doing a pretty good job. Nice underneath there to Audrey. Now they're getting a little bit of flow going. Putting it deep. Gonna have to chase it down, but always too far out in front. And Ireland now can break and make this game level again.
What I find quite peculiar is Ireland have started mixing up their lines a little bit more now. So we see Von Kampen out there on the D line. Normally John Doherty would be there to send some kind of shot to somebody. Keenan's out there.
So according to the seedings going into the quarterfinals, this is the 2 versus 7 matchup. So on paper, you'd expect Shenanigans to be winners by a few points or so, but the Irish really keeping it close here.
Refusing to give up or go down easy.
So we'll see what this Irish D-line can do. Von Kampen's going to do the traditional Irish D-line thing of jacking it deep.
Irish on Irish crime is Keenan there. Able to beat Meehan, but then can't keep it together. And unfortunately throws it over the heads of Niall McGovern.
What a shame. Did really well on the deep put, but just snapped it away, so to speak. And Shenanigans, they want it all in one go. An absolute bomb dropped on the Irish. Beautiful throw to Alexa Yadama.
Phenomenal stuff. End zone to end zone, and Natasha Hinwood clearly caught unawares. She was doing everything she could to make up the distance, but there wasn't really much available to her. Stepping up front corner, you think, okay, maybe we can keep trapped here, we keep a bit of pressure. No, sir. That is absolutely beautiful.
It's a heartbreaker for the Irish after they were right on the doorstep, just couldn't punch it in, and the Shenanigans punished them at the second time of asking. It's always a heartbreaker, especially when you get so close. To lose like that, you work so hard to grind it up, and then in one throw, it's all gone away.
So 6-4, still plenty of time left, 25 minutes. I do have this kind of sense that there's not going to be many opportunities like that for Ireland. While there is a lot of time, there won't be many more chances. Is that my natural pessimism towards my countrymen taking over, or do you think there's any basis of it?
It certainly feels like Shenanigans have been the cleaner side so far.
Like, Ireland couldn't do that, what Shenanigans just did. But there are a few people on the team who think they can do it. I think that's dangerous.
That's half the battle, isn't it? Just belief.
Yes, but if you only have half a battle, you generally lose that battle.
But if you lose half a battle, do you win half a war? Is that how it works?
I think wars are like holes. You can't really have half of one.
Yeah, I can go with that. So the Irish going to bring the disc in at the brick mark. Checks in now by Shenanigans. Low backhand to start it to the break side. I think he was maybe expecting a cutter to go. A free turnover almost for Shenanigans.
They've got a lot of top quality athletes out there ready to convert it.
Here is one of those aforementioned athletes, Harris. Just about squeaks that.
There you go, Shenanigans rushing it a little bit. That's another giveaway.
Yeah, 2 relatively cheap turnovers, it has to be said on this point. See what the Irish can do now. Breaking the force to start, throws a little bit behind, but went early enough and had enough separation to still catch it. Oh, cheeky high release, but Harris comes over the top and gives her a bit of a hefty bump.
Seems like Cho is calling foul on it.
We're sitting on the replay. I like the look at first, but it just hung up a little bit too much, and Harris could come through, and he does get the disc cleanly, but there is a lot of contact on his way down.
Seems like he did everything he could to get over her, but like that's almost impossible. The body hitting on the inside of his hip. That's one of the more difficult ones to call. I do think he did almost everything in his power to get the D without making contact.
But he did make contact.
He did make contact. It's one of those times you kind of have to leave it to your own interpretation. Would you consider that a foul?
I'll be honest, if it happened to me, I'd certainly call the foul. Whether I'd keep it, I don't know, but...
This is the defense for fouls that I would consider the, yeah, but you got totally roasted, though, defense. You know, like, when there is a bit of contact, and the thing that just makes you reluctant to say it's a legitimate foul is, like, yeah, but you got totally roasted.
Yeah.
Like, you got so much higher above her than she was
like
ever going to
wasted
get
the face
that dust.
sort of thing.
Exactly. And while it might technically be a D, I saw Ireland get one against GB. Now McCarthy and Ashley Orr. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's technically a D, but he was up before you and stayed in the air.
You mean technically a foul?
Technically a foul.
Oh, it was a huge foul.
Perhaps on review, I only saw it the first time.
But then they called it anyway. And speaking of catching it anyway, the second time of asking, Ireland are going to send it back on a pick. Interesting offense here.
You see Cho sequentially involved in it.
Certainly seems to be the focal point in the end zone at this point. Pressure is tight from Shenanigans, but kind of comes to the front. And that one's going to stick. And Ireland pull themselves back within one once more. 6-5 down at the moment.
That was a great systematic cutting structure. First Joe goes through, attracts the attention, pulls it to the front corner. Kavanagh then follows up. Multiple options. No stagnation. Great stuff from Ireland. Looking composed out there and keeping this close. Much closer than I'd say most people were expecting it to be. So here we see that ISO work from Ireland again. And Kavanagh, fantastic continuation cut. Great score.
So just over halfway through this game, 60-minute game rounds, but in order to make sure that we keep things relatively to time, Hooter goes off at 55 minutes. Cameraman Milan's specifically made and edited jingles to make them shorter to fit the game rounds. Little things like that when you have rain delays and alterations, you just don't think about having to redo.
It's a wonderful little thing, like the little things that make Windmill so special. The amount of rain that hit us last night. Now the sun is starting to come out.
It was
as you can see the shadows.
insane.
It genuinely was, it felt like I was sleeping under my own personal waterfall. And everybody else had the exact same experience.
I'm sorry, I think my tent's a lot better than that, Lorcan.
The sounds, I meant.
Oh, okay.
It is a phenomenal tent, one does have to give it props.
The sun finally coming out now. The sun seems to be shining on Shenanigans, working it right the way down the force side and jamming it in the jam hole to the near sideline. Shenanigans will take a 7-5 half-time lead. We are playing games to 15, but because of the shorter game rounds, we're taking a half at 7, and that means the dictating end zone will switch at half-time as well, playing with mixed ratio rule B here this weekend, which is the end zone dictates rule for those of you watching at home, as opposed to the new mixed ratio rule A, which will take force in Europe from next year, which is where it alternates every couple of points. So the idea is there's always a balance. And theoretically, that would mean that teams bring more balanced squads rather than more male-dominated squads, knowing they can play four guys all the time.
Well, you're always looking for more ingenuitive ways to get the women involved in the sport. Personally, I think the best way would be to grow the sports base, because most of the heavy male-dominated teams I know that play mixed are bringing all the women they have. But still, I can't believe that that's actually... Like, I'm terrible at maths. So I have dyscalculia, I believe. But surely if you just had it in the end zone, and you have to swap end zones every point, it's basically the same as it always being half and half. Like, what's the point of changing the two systems?
Because the idea is that one team might always choose 4 guys. And so the idea is if you encourage teams, if you know that you're going to have to play 4 women on half your points, you're going to play through your women a bit more. And actually, from what I've seen when it's been in use, I think it works. It definitely seems like teams.
Hold on. Does that mean you don't get to pick yourself, whether it's men or women? Surely you can always just pick all men. Or 4 men, you know?
Nope. Under ratio rule A, it's tracked. So it was in use at EBUC a couple of weeks ago in Portimao, and so after the first point it changes, and then it switches every 2 points. So after every odd point, when the score's always odd, you switch back. So you're playing 4 women, or I guess it was beach 3 women half the time. Really encourages teams to pick more women and play through their women more.
And of course, Windmill not supporting.
Partly because for obviously a lot of teams using this as preparation for EUC in Győr in Hungary in a couple of weeks. There's mixed ratio will be in use there. So
Dawkins busting out the high release flicks. Sorry, I just have to come across you and say that's about the 3rd one he's thrown. Quick succession.
Goes with the backhand that time. Oh, the bid is late, and that's going to leave a player down on the floor. The Irish can't quite capitalise perfectly. Just resetting it around the back. It's nice and calm from the Irish.
Surprisingly calm, given the high difficulty ratio of some of the moves. Dawkins is having himself a few points, it must be said. Getting a little frustrated there at that call. He really thought he was home free before the continuation passed by McMahon.
So the Irish offense getting back to work, swinging it off the sideline, trying to get the disc in the middle of the field, make it easier to attack both sides, but goes back towards the 4 side. They're just playing give-go in the handler set. Oh, this is spicy, and the problem when you try and squeeze it down the sideline is the defenders can always go out of bounds, whereas you're restricted by the sideline. And they're 1-all-in-1 once more, but that's always too far from Shenanigans. Spirited throwing, but a little bit over-eager that time.
Really enjoy the kind of shots they take. Surprised Ireland aren't answering in kind.
It's a slightly swashbuckling style from Shenanigans, isn't it?
It very much is. As Dwyer gets the disc in the middle of the pitch. Ireland more reckless than swashbuckling when they do it, but
I will say I am surprised by the way in which they've worked this under. Not that they're not good at it, but normally we see them take a few more deep shots, so maybe they're just worried about the athleticism of this Shenanigans side, and that is a dime down the far sideline. Shenanigans get a break, opening up a little bit of a margin now. 8-5 the score.
And that could be killer. Ireland have kept it close, surprisingly close for some people, justifiably close. I think for the Irish, you know that they can play at a high level. That turn notwithstanding. But just look at how quick Shenanigans can respond back. They have got skills in every position. That time a beautiful shot. Katie Meltzer sending it down, getting the assist.
8-5 the current scoreline. Shenanigans leading Ireland with about 15 minutes left in this game. Benjamin Reese in the booth with you here alongside Lorcan Murray.
What up, what up?
When was the last time we commentated together? Would it have been Windmill last year?
It would have been Windmill last year.
Oh,
it was
man,
one of those things. I only did 2 tournaments last summer, I believe.
I can't believe I haven't seen you for a year.
I know.
What a heartbreaker.
Seems like it had only been
Where
a
have you
day.
been?
I've been all over the world, and I gotta tell you, not great. So
missed the Irish rain, do you?
I miss the Irish rain. I miss the Dutch people, and that sense of humour that they're famous for. I miss the British friendliness.
The what?
You know that thing where you never speak condescendingly to people?
Mate, I'm from London. You don't talk to anyone there. You're just not allowed. Like, people try and initiate contact. Like, anyone tries to talk to anyone on the tube, the entire carriage gives a monster dirty look. Speaking of different looks. We've got a zone now coming from Shenanigans.
I always like it when the pickup teams bust out some of the more tactically relied on defenses. They're trying to work together. They're certainly going for it in terms of enthusiasm. Noel trying to just jump all over the place. Not quite nullified there though. Cormac with a tasty little flick.
They're so congested on that sideline. Going with the blades to get it around. It looks like there's just not enough connection between the backfield and the downfield. Oh, nice little silky scuba there though. I like that look.
They're not gaining anything from it. They seem to just be popping it back and forth to each other, not really getting anything downfield.
Why would you want to gain yards when you can just throw scubas?
Just back and forth for the rest of the game.
I mean,
Makes sense for Shenanigans to do it, wind out that clock. There's another scuba. Aidan Kelly, a proud member of the Scuba Club, of course. Maeve Ryan coming back to help out the handlers. Normally more of a downfield player. And there's Del Cormac finally trying to test this zone with a brilliant shot over the top. But unfortunately,
taking an injury sub here. I didn't quite see what happened. Just coming up a little bit lame. Just going to be replaced.
Seems like the captain, Anya Hearn, coming on to take her spot.
I don't know if she just landed a little bit funny.
So Anna Dini coming off the pitch. Hopefully she'll be okay. But Adele Cormac finding the bravery to take on the kind of shots that Ireland need to take on if they want to get through the zone. Man is in positively acres of space. Anya instead goes for the much more difficult throw.
So trying to stretch Shenanigans laterally here. All the throws a little bit off target. Goes past the first Irish player. The other one can't get there in time. Shenanigans can extend the margin here. Turns at the reset. Doesn't like the look though. Looking downfield. Got Phillips as a reset. She burns up line. Stalk out. Goes high. Was a potential stall out, doesn't matter. Player laid out just to tip it away from Shenanigans.
Brilliant block by McMahon.
And Irish desperately needed that. Just going to have one-on-one coverage on this possession from the Shenanigans D. Squeezing it down the line to Cormac. Lovely little lead throw. Look at the full fat gold top milk into the end zone. And the kick spike as well from Kelly.
That was the man throwing those scoobers earlier on. And a man who's having himself quite the tournament. He was one of the few bright sparks in Ireland's game that was on the stream earlier today when they're taking on Groot. He has really played well, had some big grabs, lovely composed throwing. Big part of that offensive hold.
So the Irish are going to need to get some breaks. They haven't been able to do that yet. Just about 10 minutes or so before the cap goes on. Still a very tight affair. Obviously, as we mentioned, the other semi-final that we're streaming on the field far away. We've got Guayota versus Germany, and elsewhere in the bracket we have Smog taking on Chut and France taking on Flo Wrocław, and we'll be streaming both of the semi-finals in those divisions, in addition to the semi-finals in the open division between Condors and the Czech Republic, and in the women's division between Cosmic Girls and Finland later on.
All of those promise to be absolutely fantastic games. I think Flo have been brilliant so far in this tournament.
Flo are a fun team to watch. I will never forget commentating on Flo in the Olympic Stadium in Wrocław. It was quite an experience. Oh, miscommunication there from Shenanigans. Two players I think left it for each other. There was a lot of traffic in the space. Not a very good spacing from the Shenanigans offense.
I gotta tell you, I would not be surprised to see Van Kampen immediately look to send this to John Doherty.
Just going to take the swing instead. Doherty's at the front of the stack.
Ireland going with a much more patient approach, showing that they've really learned from the mistakes they made against Groot.
IO flick goes to Doherty. Looking for the dish back to Van Kampen. High release backhand. Doc gets up and toes it in. tries to lash it through the field. Oh, a visionary throw. I don't know whether that was the target he wanted. There was a player behind him I thought was the initial read, but good adjustment there to make the catch. And the Irish get a break, their first of the game. They're only one behind Shenanigans now at 8-7.
What a time to get your first break of the game as well. Keenan was the one picking up the score. We see here John Doherty tries to get the quick dump back instead. This is by no means an easy pass to get off. It's kind of when you want your dump defense to generate. Doc says no to the open pass. Instead sees a gap that at the time he was the only one aware of, including his receiver.
Just lasers it through the middle of the field. It bisects the Shenanigans defense. See that foot very clearly inbounds. Squeezes it through the middle of the field to Keenan, and the Irish now are making this a tight contest, just 1 point behind, just under 10 minutes left. We could go all the way, Lorcan.
Something I absolutely love about that throw and assist is that Munihan was completely free directly in front of him, and he let her just passing by going, no, I see where I want to put this. There's now a huge pull, and Ireland screaming down, looking to get that block, led by Van Kampen.
Yeah, you can see he's fired up now. He can sense that the semi-final place is very much within reach if they want it. Shenanigans, no move for that though. Doherty's a little bit behind in coverage. The deep shot is well caught by Henke. Dishes it back to Port. Now, Shenanigans just swinging it around in the backfield. Waiting for a window to open up, and they're going to get it into the end zone.
That point was all about abusing the John Dock poaches. First the deep shot, and then in the end zone again. Great awareness from Shenanigans. Very difficult to successfully poach off an experienced player, especially when they're playing with talented throwers.
Yeah, he's a player who, Doherty, isn't afraid to take a little bit of free license and try and roam around and search for blocks, but that time he was punished.
That's the way of a gambling man.
Meanwhile, up here in the booth, exciting news. Breaking news, in fact.
As here comes the beer.
This is what we've all been waiting for. Our volunteers doing, crew and staff do an amazing job this weekend. Keeping us furnished is the least of their worries, but the fact that they still take time out of their day to come and help us is...
It's probably the most vocal of their worries.
Sorry?
It's the most vocal of their worries, and that would be perhaps why they're so influenced to keep us appeased. Wonderful, wonderful people, and we do not deserve them.
They've done such a fantastic job, especially given the
conditions of today.
Oh my God.
The trials that they've been through.
Yeah, there was a point at 9 o'clock this morning where we're thinking maybe the whole day of play would have to be cancelled. What are we going to do tomorrow? Can we extend it? At one point, maybe looking at playing games late into the night, but credit as well to the site. The fields have drained really well. We've got enough to get full rounds of games in. Admittedly, slightly truncated, but that doesn't matter.
The fact that they're happening at all is a testament to their dedication. It's a fantastic shot from Ireland.
Trying to find a reset. Still count rising. Swing it into the centre. Port bids, but it's a little bit behind. Kelly fakes around. Now then, utilising the poached player. It's going to be a stoppage on a pick. Oh, flying layout block.
Unfortunately, McMahon did stop because of the pick called, so I think that does have to go back, otherwise he would have collected the disc. We've seen some spectacular layout blocks from players in Shenanigans outfits. You yourself witness to them here at Amsterdam.
Yeah, there's a reason that we like Shenanigans, both on and off the pitch, and I'm talking both about the team and the general nonsense. General nonsense. Just going back to the Irish, agreeing that, yeah, the pick did stop play in effect, so possession will stay here with Cormac. Waiting for this to be checked back in by Katie Metzler. Cormac finds Kelly as a reset. Lefty gets the backhand off towards this sideline. Nice pass there to Cormac. Winds up the arms, shoots it deep. Have they got it? Once more going out of bounds. There might be a potential chase down. Cosmic Girls on the sideline were there as well.
Spared their blushes as Dwyer very graciously just goes, nah, I wasn't getting it anyway. Null got up absolutely massive. Just enough. Do you think that could be a Russian conspiracy colluding with the Americans?
Don't know what you mean. What a scorching deep look. Oh, and he lays out for the grab as well for Shenanigans.
You can afford to lose the disc if you've got plays like that in your back pocket. Gets away with what could have been a little bit of an embarrassing turn there.
You see, just good spirit on the sidelines as well. Slapping of hands and so on. A little ruffle of the hair as well. Get a nice replay of that deep shot. Just absolutely punches this one deep. Hangs for a while. I thought there was a little bit where he'd maybe showboat a little bit too much, got too far underneath it, but then tracked it well towards this near sideline and did a very good job. Well, after he makes the catch, he turns the disc in his hand, so when he lands, he's not going to ground strip himself.
Smart, experienced move. How many times have we seen people make the fantastic athletic play, get their fingers around the disc, only to see the ground be their undoing?
And we've seen it already in the game we streamed between Condors and Austria today.
Condor is an incredibly impressive side, taking on the Czech Republic in the open division in the next game.
Yeah, well, that's going to be streamed on the field behind us, so field 1. We're going to be streaming on this pitch, Cosmic Girls versus Finland.
So all 3 Irish teams that made the quarterfinals falling. Unfortunate, but still great for Ireland in general. Well, 2 out of 3 of them. This game still has 3 minutes left, although if you are the Irish, you're thinking you're running out of time, you got to start taking some of these shots. Murnau and Gash, and Murnau takes it down.
That was a match, I'll be honest. Murna's a very good receiver, but Harris is, I mean, not as practiced as it used to be, but reputation for being one of the best defenders in Europe at that time, got schooled in the deep space.
Well, if you would allow me to take that and paint it into a metaphor for something perhaps potentially larger.
Nope.
Yes, the old English way, the old English power, the ancient empire whose shadow once stretched across the world. Yes, maybe one day it did extend, but maybe that day has dusked. Maybe that day is gone. Maybe it's time for people like Kavanagh to put up those kinds of shots. And maybe it's time, despite the imposing pressure of the British Empire, it's time for people like Murnau to take them down.
I think I said no, I didn't want the metaphor.
Oh, I apologize.
That's all right. So Shenanigans taking a late timeout in this game, knowing that the cap's going to come on pretty soon, and so dragging things out, or rather than taking a timeout, just having a little bit of a huddle. Ireland ready to go. Doherty's got the disc in his hand, ready to pull. We see Shenanigans there, getting ready for this O point.
So there's only a minute or so until the final buzzer goes, and Ireland need to score before that buzzer, otherwise this game won't keep going.
Well, actually, if it goes this point, they need to score this point, because then the Hooter goes,
then
they'll be within 1. But yes, normally with Swiss draw, you just play that last point and then done. But with the bracket play, if the game's within 1 after that point, then you play a standard traditional cap +1. Oh, he just lashed that deep with little regard. He made that look so casual. I thought he hadn't necessarily stopped. It was almost still in the air when he threw it. But maybe he should have just chopped his feet a bit, because he threw it too far out the back of the end zone. And now Von Kampen's going to pick up the disc for the Irish. And they can bring it within 1 here, Lorcan.
This is tasty. All of the games so far that the Irish have been involved in at the quarterfinal level have been incredibly close. How that wasn't a travel. He was basically jumping and shooting.
It was totally a travel.
I think you just get away with it, it's fine.
But they're not going to call that travel if it turns over deep.
Oh no. There's Murnau with the disc.
So the Hooter goes for time over. So the Irish need to score this point. Otherwise Shenanigans will take a semi-final place. Looking for a lead pass. Port gets a hand into it. Nice flying layout block. They needed that to prevent Ireland from extending this game. Checked in on the sideline, Von Kampen on the mark. Goes underneath. Finds Henke, wants it all. Can he get it? Yes, he can. Shenanigans will take a semi-final place at Windmill with an 11-8 victory over the Irish.
Congratulations to Shenanigans, able to defeat the Irish. Let's be honest, did a lot better here than people thought they would, and right until the end, we're still in it, still fighting, keeping themselves involved. A lot of great lessons learned that they will be able to take into the coming European season. Shenanigans, well, we'll get to keep seeing those fantastic shots and those beautiful jerseys on this stream, as they will be on the semi-final in the game after the one coming up next.
Ireland will look to build from this and win the finals, but for the meantime, we'll see Shenanigans on the stream later in the day as we see the games wrapping up on the other field as well between Germany and Guayota. We're going to love you and leave you. Coming up now on this pitch, women's semi-final action between Cosmic Girls and Finland. The open semi-final between Condors and the Czech Republic is going to take place on the other field. I've been Benji Rees.
I've been Lorcan Murray.
And we will see you on the other side.
Like, I know it's probably going to go for the same people, but we've got no numbers.
I'm pretty sure Tim brought them over.
He brought them over, there's no numbers on them.
Oh. I know some. Who's doing which game?